All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 47 of our class. As it says in here today, what I'm going to do to begin with is I'm going to go over exercise 14-1 and exercise 16-2. We'll talk about them a little bit. I've already written them. You're not going to watch me write them, but I've actually already put them out there as well under a GitHub repo. All right, so we're going to do that first, and I'm hoping that'll take no more than 15 minutes or so. Next, we will discuss inheritance some more and class library some more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a fairly simple example that I'm going to build several times, and it's going to get more and more complex every time just so you can see what's going on. All right. Tomorrow, what I've decided to do is I'm going to go over two of the homework problems in class with you. And I don't know where I put them. Let's see. I'm going to do number one, and I'm going to do number two. All right, I'm going to go over both of those. You'll still be responsible for creating them yourselves, of course, and you're responsible for modifying the bank login one for number three. All right, we'll talk about that some more tomorrow. All right, now, if you look on here, because I think I'm going to change this around. All right, I know what I gave you, etc., for the basically the tentative rest of semester schedule. The problem is, and I have no idea if any of you watching this fall into this or not, but the problem is there's 12 of you left in the class. And out of those 12, 4 people did not take the test last week for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what the reason is, but 4 people didn't take the test. So what I'm planning on doing on Wednesday is I'm going to do the test for you from scratch. The test in chapter 12. I'm not going to save it, but I'm going to do it, okay? And let's say you got an 80 on the test, all right? C+, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a fine enough grade. But what I'm going to do is anybody who wants to turn it in again can make up to half the points they lost. So if you got an 80, meaning you lost 20 points, you can pick 10 of them back up. If you didn't take the test, you could still do it and you'd get a 50. But 50 is much better than 0. Now, what I'm going to do, since I'm going to do that on Wednesday in class, is it's going to be due Thursday by the start of class. No exceptions. All right, I've got all sorts of people emailing me with this going on in their lives, this going on in their lives. I understand. We all have stuff that goes on in our lives. And sometimes some of the stuff that you have to do, you have to change around different things in order to be able to get it done. And I get that. But I'm trying to go out of my way. And the reason that I am doing that is, like I said, with a third of the people in the class not having taken the test, not only does that go in as a 0 out of 100 in the grade book, but if they didn't take the test on 12, what's to say that they're going to take the test on 14 and 16? So like I said, I'm going to push these things back, meaning that Wednesday I'll go over very slowly the two test problems from chapter 12. Then on Thursday, we will do this. We'll go over the pretest. I'll send you out that pretest later this morning. If you take that pretest, all right, and can do it and understand what's going in there and what it's about, etc., I think it's going to help you a lot when you take the test. But the pretest then will be moved to Thursday, which means the Thursday test will be moved to Friday. Now, that means you don't get a lab period this week. I don't like doing that. But most of the time, most of the stuff that we go over this week, I'm hoping will get done no later than 11, ideally 10:55, to give you an hour's worth of lab. All right, that's the best that I can do. And you may think that's fair. You may think it's unfair. I told this to my wife yesterday, and she said, well, that's not really fair to the people who got their tests and did them on time. Maybe it's not. But if you took the test And like I said, let's say you got a 90 on it, you're not happy with a 90. You can retake it and pick up 5 points or say, forget it, it's not worth it. It's your call. All right. Going along with that, as it says right here, your chapter 12 homework and written tests were due now almost a week ago. Tomorrow it'll be a week. If you haven't turned them in, you can still get partial credit. All right. I'm trying to catch up. I have graded the tests that people did turn in, and they're in the grade book. I did not do what I've been normally doing lately, and that is give you back a copy of the test page. All right, with where I mark things up. I will do that, but I'll do that after Thursday of this week. All right, the chapter 12 hands-on test, then as it says, that was on Wednesday of last week. So that's already, if 5 days late, if you haven't turned it in yet. So let's say that Bob is in the class and Bob didn't do the test, but he actually did part of it. He can turn that in and get some credit for it if he does that before Wednesday. And then when I go over it on Wednesday, he can kind of retake it and then, get up to half the points that he lost. All right. I'm hoping that makes at least a little bit of sense to you. Finally, your chapter 14 and 16 homework and written tests, those are not due until next Sunday, the 24th. I may have put the 17th on there. If I did in the past, I'm sorry. How can I give you homework and written tests when we haven't really gone over, in depth the stuff we're going over? So, all right. So that's it as far as that goes. I will update this. And when I send out my second email to you this afternoon, all right, it will be updated, which means I should also come in here. Yes, we're going to go over examples. Yes, we're going to go over examples, but these are all going to be moved down then. And we'll just put in here chapter 12 instructor does it or something like that. I'm not going to go back and send you this thing out again, because it'll probably change again. And after a while, that gets really confusing. All right. So I'm just showing it to you, so to speak, right here. All right. So with that said, then let's just get rid of this for now. And let's see. I'm going to go through right now the two exercises, the one for chapter 14 and the one for chapter 16, just so you know. If you either want to follow along or you don't want to follow along or whatever, that if you go out to here, all right, now make that bigger so you can see it. I don't know how I got a dash there, but it looks like there's one. All right, but that should be correct because I took it right from GitHub. So if you go out to there, and again, I'll give you this at the end of the day today. The chapter 14.1 and the 16.2, I'm going to go over both of those right now. All right, but that's where they are. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to pull that code. I'm just going to grab the original that I had and I'm going to go over those. All right, we'll start with chapter 14. I did take what the author had in there for starters. I want to say that again, because if you look in here, if I go out to the PDF, I don't normally do these. Normally I do this from scratch, but I said the heck with it. I don't know if students do it from scratch or don't, but for 14.1, this one that you see right here, all right, I took what they had. All right, so it says you'll add 2 classes. Yeah, I did that. Then you'll code. Yeah, I did that too. but it says open this start one and review the code. So that's what I did. I literally followed the steps here and here. All right, so I'm going to go over those right now, and I'm going to show you what I did. Then when I get done, I'm going to do the same thing for the chapter 16 stuff. All right, so we'll see how hopefully we can get through this fairly quickly. Now, there's two forms in here. There's this form and there's this form. This is the form that comes up when the program runs. I made it bigger than what's actually in the book. All right, all I did was I resized stuff. Okay, so this is what comes up, and it should have in here whatever items you currently have in here. When you click add item, it should bring up this one right here. All right. And in other words, you should be able to come up and add a new plant item or a new supply item. If you have plant chosen, like I have here, it says size. If you have supply chosen, I can't do it because the program's not running. This changes from size to manufacturer. All right. We're doing basically the same thing. In other words, both a plant and a supply have an item number, a description, and a price. The only thing that differs between them is these two things here. Again, plant has a size, supply has a manufacturer. So we use the same form for both rather than writing two forms. All right, so let me go back to this one. And let's take a look, because I just copied in all the code that they had here and all the stuff they asked you to do. In this exercise, you'll add two classes to the inventory maintenance app. I've already done that. All right. That will inherit from the inventory item class. All right. Then you'll add code to the forms to provide for these new classes. So I created the GUI. I just showed it to you. All right. Then it says display the inventory item class and modify the get display text method so it's overridable. That's actually very simple. But for whatever reason, they wrote inventory item here, but they called it INV item. I don't know why. Again, I didn't write this, so I'm going to change this to just INV item, not to confuse you, hopefully to help you. All right, so it's the INV item class. And what changes in here is this line. All right, if I want to take that particular thing that's in there, and I do, so if I want to go in and if I want to take the get display text and make it overridable someplace else in my program, then where I define it initially, which is right here, I have to add this word. Virtual means that it can be overridden by a child class. All right. If I leave that word off and I try to override it, which is what I'm going to do in just a moment, but if I try to override it, I'm going to get an error. All right. This is what makes a method overridable. And please understand, because there is a difference between a couple of these terms here, and I want to quickly mention them and the difference in between them. All right. And that is overload and override. Now, I've shown you this before, that if I come through here, I'm going to do this very quickly. I don't want to waste your time, but I'm going to say here, int x equal 10, int y equal 15, int sum1 equal add 2, and I want to pass in x and y. All right, you've seen this thing before. This is pretty simple stuff. So if I come in through here and I say private int add 2, all right, we'll say int n1 for number 1, int n2 for number 2, and I say return n1 plus n2. No biggie there. That should make sense to every single person watching this, whether you're watching it live or on tape. On the other hand, if I do this, I'm going to do it right off to the side here, and I say double A equals 12.23. Double B equals 17.86. Then I say double sum 2 equals add 2, and I pass in A and B. Right now, it won't work, but I can come in here and do this. Private double add 2, and I'm going to put it over a couple lines, but double N1, double N2, and now I come in here and I say return N1 plus N2. This is overloading a method. I have two methods, each of which is called add to, but the signature, that being what's in the parens here and here, is different between the two. So the system can figure out exactly what it is I'm trying to do. It knows in this one, since I'm passing in two doubles, it knows to call this one. In this case, since I'm passing in two integers, it knows to call this one. You can override methods whenever, wherever you need to do so. But if I said override, I'm sorry. You can overload methods any time you want to or need to do so. But the signatures, that is whatever appears here and here, must be different each time you do an overload. I wouldn't want to do this, but I could even do another one here where I passed in one int and I passed in one double and made that an int and that a double. Because again, in each one of those cases, I would have a different signature. This is typically how it's done right here. All right. Now that's overloading. I don't want to talk about it anymore, but that actually should make sense to each and every person watching this video by now. All right. Then on the other hand, when you talk about overriding, all right, what we're going to do, and I'm just going to grab that example that we just were looking at here. I'm going to grab this. All right. So this is in the parent class. It looks like this. Public virtual string. All right. Why am I showing you that? Because there's two child classes here. There's child class supply and there's child class, I don't even remember now what it was. It was plant and supply. All right, so we'll leave that one. We'll move that one down to the bottom. The reason I'm showing you this is now when I come down and do these here and here, I don't use virtual. I come in and I say that I want to override these. And the reason I'm showing you this is now I can come in here and I can add whatever's different in here. So again, one of a plant has a size, supply has a manufacturer. I don't know if they put it at the end or before. It doesn't matter. But let's just put in here supply. And in here, we'll put in manufacturer. That is overriding. When you override, you must have the same, return value, etc. That's got to be the same. All right. But in this case here, since we're overriding a get display, we're able to come in and, we've got this. It's grabbing all this stuff from the parent every time. The only thing it's grabbing new here is supply, and the only thing it's grabbing new here is manufacture. Why? Because that's what we asked it to do. All right. If you don't like my explanation, you should be able to go online and say something like C# overriding versus overloading. And there should be examples here. Overloading and overriding. There's one here on Stack Overflow. Hacker Moon. There should be, and here's one. What's the difference? All right. As it says, they're both forms of polymorphism, which means that I can call the same method name and the system always knows which one it should provide for me. All right, so this Hacker Moon one looks like it'd be pretty good to take a look at. If stuff like this doesn't make sense to you, please take the time to take a look at it. All right, because these are things that are they're of paramount importance to you understanding object-oriented programming. All right. Okay. So bring the other one up. So I showed you that. Add a class named plant that inherits from the INV item class. Let me just move this one over. Let's see. Add another class that inherits from I just want that to say INV item. All right. So what is this supposed to do? All right. It's plant. It should inherit from INV item, and it should add a string property named size. All right. Well, if you bring in plant, okay, this is what you have to start understanding about this. All right, let me move this so I can put it on several lines here so you can see hopefully exactly what's going on. All right, you can put the colon on that line. I typically put it on the same line that I've got the base on there. It's no big deal one way or the other. All right, but what I want to show you here is what this is saying is, all right, what this is saying here is, all right, that what? Well, we've got an item number, we've got a description, we've got a price, and we've got a size. But we want the parent to handle. The parent should be handling the item number, the description, and the price. And you know that because base means push this stuff that follows off to the parent. The only thing we have to worry about in here is size. That's the new thing as far as properties in this method. And then we come over here, and I guess we did move it, but we did an override on that original get display text, and we added in here the size. In much the same way, if we go to supply, it's virtually the same thing. All right, and what I mean here, all right, is we again said that a supply has got item number, description, decimal price. Those are going to be handled again by the parent. The new thing in here is the string for the manufacturer. That's the only thing that we're handling in this constructor. All right. Just like the only thing we handled in plant was this. Everything else was being handled for us. And again, we override the toString method to add the manufacturer. All right. So again, if we go back and we look at this, I just explained number 3 to you. All right. And I just explained number 4 to you. I'm not saying they totally made sense, but I'm giving you the code. So I'm hoping at least that it's going to start making sense to you if it doesn't already. All right. Next, modify the event handler for the click event of the save item on the new item form so it creates a new item of the appropriate type using the data entered by the user. All right, so in our FRM new item, if we come in here, this is the one. All right, and we were told the click event of the save button. Okay, so here's the save button down here. It's very similar to what we looked at in the chapter, the one that they did. Is it identical? Of course not, but it's similar. You're checking here if the radio button for the plant is checked. All right, do this. Otherwise, do this. And to be fair, I probably should have said this. I didn't, but I probably should have said this. Else, if RDO supply. All right, just to be as safe as possible. So we validate the data. How do we validate the data? All right, we make sure that each one of those that's there is present, and if it's a numeric, that it's also isn't or is decimal. Notice how streamlined that return is on the is valid data. All right, these are either all going to be true, all going to be false, or they're all going to be a mixture of true and false. If they all return true, we get into this. If any of them return false, we skip and do nothing. So what are we doing here? Well, we're telling the system we either want to instantiate a new plant item or we want to instantiate a new supply item. You'll notice that other than that, everything is the same. All right. Okay. So when we come back to here, then where are we? Come on, where are you? There you are. So we modified that. Then modify the event handler of the click event of the add button on the inventory maintenance form so it displays a dialog indicating that the item was added successfully. All right. The message should use the size and description properties. I didn't even go that nuts. All I did was if it worked. All right. So in our new item, here's one thing. Every time you change the radio button, if you go from supply to plant, then that third label changes from manufacturer to size or vice versa. All right. And what was this again? I'm sorry. All right. The click event of the add button. All right. So what are we doing in here? It's very similar to what they gave us, but we're just adding to it. What are we doing here? You should all understand what we're doing right there. We're instantiating right there. All right. We're instantiating right there a new item form. All right. Then we're telling it to get that item. We're making sure it's not null, and we're adding it to our list of items. That's it. So again, it's very similar to what we looked at before. If I run this, it comes up. And it looks like this. This is the stuff that was preloaded in here. If I add an item, notice with plant it says size, with supply it says manufacturer. Let's add one of each. Just say, whoops, we'll say here, new plant item. You'll notice these are the plant items, so it's size, gallon, 5 gallon, etc. Let's do 5 gallon, and we'll make it $34.99. All right, and save. There it is. And I spelled, no, I guess I spelled it right. Let's add one more. We'll make it a supply. It already changed to manufacturer, so you can see it changed to the different manufacturers. All right. Description, new supply item with a last name like Scott. I got to choose that one. All right, we'll say the price is $55.66 and we save. There are our two new items. We can highlight either of them and choose delete. And it says, are you sure you want to delete the new plant item? Yes. Are you sure you want to delete the new supply item? Yes. If nothing is highlighted, nothing happens. If I click add and cancel out, even if I filled it all in, I click cancel, boom, it just cancels out. So that was the first one. Again, you have all the code for this. All right. Okay. Second, the other one. So let me close this. Bring up the other one. So this is chapter 16. Now with this one, if we take a look at it in here, and I want to do this fairly quickly. I'm already taking more time than I thought we'd take, but I want to make sure you get this. Create and use a class library. All right, with the example that they had in this example, all right, there is not, I want to repeat that, there is not there are not the radio buttons. Let me run it quick. Okay, so you can see what's in there. All right, I'm going to click the add item, and just like before, and you can see that it gets added, and we can delete it. All right, so what's different in this one? All right, well, let's take a look, because I don't even know if I did everything we're supposed to do, so I'm going to fix it right in front of you. All right, we've got inventory maintenance right here, and everything is here, and there's our validator. All right, that is validating everything. All right, and I'm looking in here. Oh, we did make that library. There it is. All right, so we made we made our inventory item class, and all I did was to move that over, and you can see they put in the XML comments, and the same thing with the other one. All right. Now, the one thing that's not in here is this one. Now, when you look here, I want you to understand this. This says Muroc.inventory. This one says Muroc.inventory. So when we go in and we look at these, so if I go into the project and I right mouse click and I choose add and I go to project reference, all right, I'm surprised that isn't already checked, but it should be. And I check there and I click OK. Now, once I go in and I do that, All right. Then I should be able to go into either one of these. All right. And view the code. And there's using muroc.inventory. All right. So you saw it there. And where's the other one? You see it in both. All right. There it is. We made it available. Now, what we can do, I'm not saying you have to do this, but what we can do here is just to show you, I can take this validator class here and I can copy it. I wouldn't cut it, I'd copy it. And I'm going to come up to the library, all right, which is here. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to paste. All right, now it's in here. But what I must do then is I have to change this. All right. And I have to make it the same as these. It's got to now be namespace muroc.inventory. I have to do it like that. Otherwise, it's not going to be recognized. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I don't care right now. I'm just showing you what can be done. All right. In fact, I don't think there is anything. The reason that it's put in there is there's a message box, as you can see. So these message boxes would have to be replaced with something else. All right. Or I go back and I make it the way it was before. All right. I make that inventory maintenance. And this one I just remove, the one I just put in. All right. And everything should be back to normal again. It may be showing some errors there. They're all gone. All right. Just to show you, if I run it again, everything will be cool. There's everything, you know. There it is. All right. So you've got both of those, and I showed you where they both are. All right. In other words, they're right here. So if you go out to GitHub, because people ask, like, I'm taking the test. Do you have any problems that are similar? Well, I'm not saying these are going to be identical, but this is something you can take a look at. All right. Now, what I'm going to do for the rest of the period, and we'll see how long this takes, is I'm going to be working with a fairly simple calculator example. All right, fairly simple. All right. And right now you can see it's empty. So it says calculator library. And we're going to do this very incrementally. In other words, I'm going to be very deliberate in the way that I do this. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start up Visual Studio. Okay, I'm going to create a new project. The first two that I'm going to create are going to be console apps. And I can make them the other one. I'm just, to keep it simple, I'm going to make it the .NET because there's less work for me to do. And I'm going to call this calculator console 01. All right. Create. No, I didn't want to do that. I'm sorry. Okay, let me try it again. I want to make sure I'm putting it in here and I didn't. So let me do that again. All right. So again, it says it's not empty because it saved it into the default location. That should go away in a minute. So I'm going to come back here. Calculator library example. There's nothing in there. All right, that error went away. And I'm just going to call this class libraries. Okay, and click create. And there's the first one. Now, this may be considered, you may consider this as I go through it, this first one, to be a waste of time. And you know what? Maybe it is. But what I'm going to do as we start here is I'm going to build this And I'm not going to use any classes whatsoever. I have said to you in the past that anything you do in this language utilizing classes can be done without using classes. All right. So I'm going to do this first like this, and it's going to be pretty simple. All right. All right. So I'm setting this up that it can basically start at least as an infinite loop. I'm going to make sure whenever I start, I'm always going to clear my screen. All right. One of the reasons I decided to do this, and I decided to do it like this, is it's time for people to really be writing code where, if it's possible, to share methods, you start doing it. All right. Some of the ones that I've noticed, people are just, they still have code bloat. In other words, they're taking and they're violating one of the principles in here, which is DRY, DRY, which is an acronym for do not repeat yourself. And people are doing that. So I'm going to get a bunch of errors because none of this has been defined yet. All right. Now, for now, I'm going to just take these and comment them out and just, as I work on a function, I will uncomment them. All right. So here's the first one. So the first thing I want to do is to be able to go in and input a number. All right. That's pretty simple. Remember that since we're dealing with since we're dealing with console apps, all right, everything is going to have to be static. That's going to be referencing main. So static, I can still say private, or I can even leave private out, but I put it in there anyway. And you should notice now that once we do this, all right, you should notice now that once we do this, okay, those should both be big eyes. So those errors are going to go away. All right. I don't know why I put an equal sign there, but I did. There. Now they're gone. I get a new error here because it says I'm returning a decimal and I'm not returning anything. So let's write that. This is one of the bigger routines that's in here. So bool result. Oops, try that again. And again, everything I'm doing right now is going to be saved. This isn't going to help you much at all, but the other stuff hopefully will. All right. Now, everything that's in this routine by now should make sense to each and every one of you watching this. All right. We're going to validate and make sure by it, we're going to attempt to take whatever input the user put in, and we're going to attempt to parse it into a decimal. The result of that will be put in result, which if it works, it'll be true. And if it doesn't work, it'll be false. The number we read in will be this, the number STR. When we convert the number STR using the decimal.try parse, we're trying to put it into the number. Again, like I said, there really shouldn't be anything that's a surprise here to anyone. So we ask the user to input a number. We input the number and put it into the number string. We attempt to parse it. If the parse fails, we tell them, hey, you must enter a number, try it again. And we, basically it'll stay there and then it'll clear the screen and it'll start again. Let's see if at least that works. All right, as you can see, it says, please input a number. If I put in something non-numeric, you must enter a number. Please try again. Please input a number. So this would be number 1. So let's say 34. Then we're asked to do the second one. And right now, it comes back and it tells us to do them all over again. Right? It's not doing anything else because we haven't told it to yet. But so far, at least, our code in here, everything that we're doing is working. That's good. So now we can uncomment this, and this is going to be our selection. All right. And as you can see, it better be returning a string because we're putting it into a variable called SEL. All right. So we'll put that right underneath here. All right. So that'll be right there. Again, I'm getting an error because I'm not returning anything yet. All right. Just for now, just so that error goes away, I'll just return selection. Now I have no more errors again. I'm getting the underscore here because it says you're not doing anything with this output string. We're going to do that right now. All right. I'm building a crude little menu here. And it's not going to look that nice, but it'll suffice. Let's put it that way. So a 1 is going to be for adding, a 2 is going to be for subtracting, a 3 will be for a multiply, a 4 will be for divide, and a 5 will be for modulo. All right. And I'm going to tell them that please enter it right now. Now, you know as well as I do, just because you tell a person, you lead them exactly where you want them to go, and you tell them what to put in there, that doesn't mean that they're going to do it anyway. They may do it and they may not. All right. that is going to hold the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, as long as they put in a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So validate here. So if selection is not equal to a 1, and this is still a string, and it's not equal to 2, try that again, and it's not equal to 3, and it's not equal to 4, and it's not equal to 5. Telesense can be a nice thing, at least sometimes. So if I did that, I put in something illegal. Again, that should make sense. So I'm just going to come back and I'm going to tell them again. But I'm going to make this a right line. Right. With the read line. Again, we'll clear. And again, we'll call make a selection. Whoops, try that again. All right. And finally, eventually I should fall out of here. And as it shows, I should be able to return the selection. So we can check that now. All right. And whoops, that was good. Try that again. Try that again. All right, 45, 12. There's my crude little menu. All right, 1 to add, 2 to subtract, etc., etc. You can see all that. All right, if I put in anything now, it doesn't do anything, just tells me again, but it's working, is what I'm telling you. All right, so far I've come in here and I've allowed the user to input a number and select what they want. So now we need this, which is where we're going to create this. It's going to call the correct function. And you'll notice in this example, I made no variable global. So I'm passing these variables around to the different routines. Right? And I have to let it know that that's, of course, an int. And that is an int. And that is a decimal. Let's put that on the next line. Just like that. All right. So far, we've got all that done. And there's different ways that we can do this. I just want you to realize there's different ways that we can do this. In fact, I'm rewriting this right in front of you. I am going to add one global variable up here, right there. And I'm going to call it the operator, string the operator. And I'm going to initialize it to the empty string. You'll see why in about a minute or two, okay? All right, so far I've got this, okay? And giving me that error, but if I do just come in here, I'm just going to return 0. Okay, right there. If I do that, well, call correct function. What does it say? It says cannot convert from decimal to int. Those are decimals. Did I make those ints down here? I foolishly did. They're all decimal. Okay, all right, so we've got that. Now, I don't want to return 0 here, but I'm going to have a decimal that I'm going to call result. And that's going to be the result of the calculation in just a minute. But I want to switch here, and I want to switch on this selection. Remember, I don't have to call these num1, num2, and SEL. I can call this one N1, I can call this one N2, and I can just call this S as an example if I want. So then I can switch on S. All right. And case 1, well, then I know it's an add. So result equal calculate sum, which I haven't written yet, and I have to pass it N1 and N2, and I can set the operator is now going to be equal to a plus sign. We'll do it like this, space plus space plus space, like that, and break. Didn't I call that the operator? The operator. Oh, I think, no, should be okay right there. The operator. What doesn't it like? Oh, that has to be static. I should know that. Okay, there, my error is going to be gone. Okay. So if it's a 1, I want to do this. And again, I haven't written yet calculate sum. There's going to be 5 of these. So let's just put them in. All right. In fact, we'll put in another one here, the last one, which will be our default. And that'll just break. All right. This will be 5. So it'll be called calculate mod or modulo or whatever you want to call it. This will be 4. All right. So it'll be called, and I'm wondering what it doesn't like here. So let's see. Oh, that shouldn't be a decimal. That's a string. All right. So what did I pass here? All right. SEL string. That should be correct. Yeah. Okay. So a 1, I want to call calculate sum. A 2, I want to call calculate difference. And it's going to be a minus sign. A 3, I want to call calculate product. And it's going to be an asterisk. A 4 is going to be calculate quotient. And it's going to be a divide symbol. And 5 is going to be calculate modulo, and it's going to be that. Default break. And I want to return my result. Okay, that's all good. All right, I know it's giving me all these errors, but we're going to fix it in just a second. Decimal result. All right, we've got here return result. Okay, well, let's see. Result equals this, result equals that. It's giving me errors because none of these are written yet. So let's just grab the first one. And I'm going to write it and then copy it down for the rest of them. So static. Oops. These are very short. Static private decimal. Calculate sum. And then return N1 plus N2. Okay, and I'm just going to copy these down and then just change the name and the sign on each one. All right, so we've got calculate sum. This will be calculate difference. This will be calculate product. This will be calculate quotient. And the last one will be calculate, I think we called it modulo. All right, so all those are done. Okay, and it's right now it's giving me, it's just telling me that it's giving me a warning that says I'm not using result. We're going to use it in just a moment. All right, so what's left? Okay, not a lot. I mean, what do we have up here? So we've got here return result. We'll have to fix that in a second. So let's look. All right. So now we want to display the output. Okay. Okay, so this is where we want to display the output. And this is another very, very, very short routine. Again, we have to tell it int n1 or num1, int n2 or num2, string, and those are not ints. Why do I keep typing int? They should be decimal. So decimal and num1, decimal, num2, string for the selection, and decimal for the answer. All right, this comes simply then as a write line. And I'm going to say N1 plus operator. N1. All right, I probably should do this as a interpolated string. So N1 operator. I guess it's the operator. N2, num2, equals answer, which we'll put to 2 decimal places. Right? And the only thing that's left is to run the program again, so we'll have to write that. I don't know why it isn't liking this. So use of unassigned local, oh, it's because if I'm going to do that, I have to say equals 0. Okay. So all my errors should be now gone. And the only thing left is this run program again. So let's write that. It's going to have to return a Boolean. And then we'll be done. I know I'm running over. Sorry about that. All right, so I'm in here. And again, I want to ask the user if they want to run the program again or not. And then I'm going to grab the first character that they put in and make sure that that first character is a Y, an uppercase Y. There I'm uppercasing it. And here I'm just going to check that first character. We learned how to do that back in chapter 8. If we didn't say Y, ret val is going to be equal to false. And then we want to return ret val. There shouldn't be any errors in here. There aren't. So let me run it, and then we're taking a break. I'm going to just keep it simple. 56, 17, 1. Okay, it's 73. Run it again. 56, 17, a 2. Looks good. Run it again. Whoops. That was on me for hitting enter there. And if I do run this, and I don't put in anything, you already saw that it's just going to ask you to do it again. I think that's enough for this one. I mean, it's 160 lines. So I want to come back, and when I come back, I'm going to rewrite this program, all right, as a console program, and I'm going to use a class for it. It's going to be actually a longer program, and you could even go in and make the case and say, you made it harder. You know what? I'm not going to disagree, but we'll talk about that when we get back. It's 9:10. Let's come back at 9:20, please. I'll see you then. I will be right back. All right. It is 9:20. So I guess let's start back up. What I did was I created a new project and copied over everything. So right now, this calculator console 02 is exactly the same as 01. Why did I do that? Because I want to make the changes for you so you can see how it is going to change. So I'm going to close this calculator 01, just keep 02 open, but I'm going to come over to my solution. I'm going to add a new project. This will be a class library.NET framework. And I just call this, we'll call it calculator library. I can spell it right. It is not at all mandatory that you put the word library in there. It's just kind of a unwritten practice that that's what people do. I don't need this class 1, which it makes for us, which is just kind of garbage. I could just rename it, etc., but I'm just going to get rid of it. I don't need it. But I am going to come in here and I'm going to create a new class in my library called calculator. In fact, let's call this standard calculator, because later we're going to add scientific capability to it. So standard calculator.cs, and there it is. Again, typically you don't need any of this, and I always make this public. And let's start writing. It's not going to be very big. All right. Now, when I did these the first time, when we did the first one in here, we made these all decimals. What I'm going to do, and I should have done it earlier, but I didn't. It works fine because we weren't using classes. But now we're going to use we're going to end up using a bunch of the built-in C# library functions. The reason I'm telling you they're from the math library, they're expecting, instead of decimals, they're expecting doubles. So I'm going to put in here public double add, and we'll put in double A and double B. And I'm just going to return A plus B. Very simple. All right. And again, oops, I'm going to copy this down a bunch of times. It's going to give me errors. But we've got an add. So let's make a subtract. And before I might have called them difference or whatever. It's really no big deal one way or the other. So this will be multiply. This will be divide, and I'm going to make a change to that in just a minute. And I better make that a multiply symbol. And that'll be a divide symbol. And this will be modulo. All right. Now you already know this. You're all bright people. So you all know, whoops, you all know that what I don't want to do is divide by 0. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say if b equals 0, I'm going to just throw my own exception right there, which is going to basically stop the program. So throw new divide by 0 exception. And I'll even put my own text in there that says cannot divide by 0. All right. And I'm going to do that both for the divide and for the modulo. Okay. So what have I done so far? Not a whole lot, but I added a new class. The class was called standard calculator. If I bring in two numbers and I want to add them, I'm just returning the sum. If I bring in two numbers and I want to subtract, I'm subtracting the second from the first. If I tell it I want it to multiply, it's A times B. If I tell it I want it to divide rather, I validate that the second number is not 0. All right. And I validate it there, and I validate it here. All right. Now there's other stuff I could put in here, but I tried to keep this class lean. In other words, fairly simplistic. All right. All right, so file, save all. Okay. And then let's jump back into our program. All righty. So I don't think I don't think I'm gonna have to touch that one again, but we'll see. All right, let's jump back into the program here. And I want to make sure I'm doing the right one because remember they're identical right now. So I want the program for Calculator Console 2. There it is. All right, what I decided to do in this one, didn't have to do it, but what I decided to do was to make it a little easier. So here I've got declare. Jeez Louise. Declare and initialize program constants. And I just made 2 of them. Our minimum selection, remember, is a 1 because we want to enter a number between 1 and 5. All right. Then I also declare and initialize our class variables. I didn't want to be passing all that stuff anymore. We could do it. All right. I just figured this would be a little cleaner. All right. Maybe that's even wrong, but that's just what I did. So static string num1 str, that'll be equal to nothing. Static string num2 str, and that'll be equal to nothing. Static string, I called it SEL str, select string, that'll be equal to nothing. And then I'm going to have the actual values themselves. So static double n1 that will set equal to 0. Static double n2 is going to be equal to 0. Static int SEL for the selection, and that'll be equal to 0. And static double result is going to be equal to 0. Now, you all know this, I believe, at least you all do already, but I mean, again, depending on how I want to set this thing up. All right, these are all doubles, as you can see. All right, so if I want to, this is an int, so making it 0 is correct. With these, since they're all doubles, if you want to, you could make it 0.0. It's by no means is that necessary. But whoops, not there. But some people like to do that because they think it's making their program that much more self-documenting. And you know what? I don't disagree with that. All right. So there's our class variables. All right. I think at least this is going to make it a little bit easier as we go through the rest of the program here. So we still have this decimal, input a number. That's all fine. Okay, now I don't want these to be decimals anymore. I want them to be doubles. It's going to give me an error because currently that is returning everything that I have in here is they're all working with decimals. So let's change that, and let's change it at one time. So I'm going to go to edit, find and replace, and I'll do a quick replace here, and I'll say find every occurrence of decimal and replace it with double. Click right here. And it changed a whole bunch of them for me. Now, there still could be errors, but we'll see if we can fix them as we're going along here. All right, so just like before, input a number. All right, make a selection, etc. So that hasn't changed. So in here, this input a number, this is the same thing we did before. All right, this is the exact same thing that we did before. I'm not changing anything, except, again, I made all the decimals doubles. All right. And for our selection now, once we get here and we're working with a selection, all right, there's other stuff that we can start doing in here. In fact, maybe we should. All right, what do I mean? Well, this doesn't look very object-oriented right now. All right, in fact, I'd argue just the other way, that right now it looks almost not object-oriented, period. All right. Because right now we got this string selection, all this stuff. I'm going to comment out all of this for now. All right, I'm going to comment out rather every bit of that. Why? So I can make this more an object-oriented like program. All right. Okay, so let's see. I've got this input a number. Do I really need that? Well, I guess I probably can keep it. I can remove it. I can do it either way. But to try to keep this simpler, I want to show you what I did. All right. So in other words, I came in here and I'm just going to grab these. And for right now, I'm going to remove them. And I said, comment read in first number. Okay. So write, enter, first number, num1 str equal read line. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing with the second number. All right. So read in the first number, then read in the second number. All right. And this will be num2. All right. Now, what we have been doing in the past, all right, is we have been coming in and, running something like is valid data. Well, let's do that. All right. But what I decided to do in here to try to keep this, again, you're seeing me move this stuff around and change stuff around, etc. in real time. I don't need input a number anymore. All right. So you can see that's one thing that I've just removed. And that's one thing that object-oriented programming is allowing me to do in here. This make a selection, I decided to grab this make a selection and take the whole thing that's right here, everything, all right, and everything that we have in here, and I'm going to move it. But before I do, because I'm going to get a boatload of errors, let's go in here and into our calculator library, let's go in and let's add another class. And this one will be our old familiar validator class. All right. And I'm going to grab a bunch of the stuff that we have been using for validator. All right. Again, I'll make this public. But I'm going to go, just so you don't have to watch me key in a boatload of junk. All right. I'm going to come back over to here. And where are we? Let's see. Is present? Yeah, we might want that one. Is in 32? We might want that. We don't need an is decimal, but we can change the is decimal to an is double. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to grab the is present, the is in 32, and the is decimal. I'm going to grab all those, copy that, and put that into my class. And I'm going to change the decimal to an is double. All right, which means I'll have to use a double.try parse here. All right, must be a valid double value. And I don't know if I used it or not. I don't think I did, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab the is within range. Now, I'm not doing it, but I could have even used the is valid operation, and I could have checked to see if we put in a plus or whatever, but I'm not doing that. All right. Okay, so I'm going to put that in. So now what you see is our class library now holds two different classes. It holds our standard calculator class, and we're going to add one to it in a bit. And it also holds our validator class. All right. So let me do a file, save all, and hopefully at least we won't have to do anything else with validator. So we're back to here now. All right. So you can see what we've done so far. We're reading in a first number. We're reading in a second number. All right. Now what I'm going to do is for now at least, I'm going to get rid of all this. Just get rid of it. And this make a selection, I'm going to grab all of it. All right. Copy it to the clip or cut it, I guess. And we're going to put it in here. But instead of putting it in as this big output string, I'm going to make these all write lines. So what am I doing here? I'm creating a menu. All right, so every one of these will be changed to a right line. Just like that. All right, so I will need to put ending parentheses on each one of these, so give me a second to do that. And it'll give me a different error, but that's okay. We're going to fix that in just a moment. Oops. All right, so I just have to change all those output STRs to right lines. Could I have made them output? Sure. I just figured this was a little cleaner to do it this way. You may agree, you may not agree. All right, so please enter 1 now, right, and this will be, actually that'll be a right. And we don't need that anymore. And that select, I think we called it select STR. All right, equals read line. Let's look. Select cell STR, sorry. All right. As of right now, it doesn't look exactly like I bought myself a boatload of stuff in here. All right, I moved stuff around, etc. I removed a few things, added other things, but I'm trying to make this, ideally at least, so that it looks pretty decent. I probably should have put that into its own routine, but I didn't. All right, I could have just left it because it was in another routine. That would have probably been cleaner. All right, but now I'm going to do a try catch. All right. Why? Because I want to, again, show you that just because we're back into classes or we're into classes now, doesn't mean that the stuff that we learned previously goes away. Far from it. All right. So now I'm going to use that. I'm going to say if is valid data, which hasn't been written yet. So of course I'm going to get an error message there. We'll write that right below it in just a minute. Then num1 equals convert dot to decimal num1 str. You have better spell decimal right. All right. That should be num1, not num1 str. What did I call it up here? N1. So N1 is equal to that. Convert to decimal. We'll figure out the error in just a minute. And then N2 equals convert dot to decimal. So what's the error here? All right, cannot expressly, oh, it's a 2 double. Remember, we made all those doubles. I know programmers, I actually do know people who do this professionally, and some of them never use decimal. They use double for everything just for reasons like this, so they aren't constantly having to change things around. All right, so if that's the case, then I'm going to say my selection, all right, SEL equals convert to integer, select string. Now I can call my correct function. And I don't pass in anything. I can display my output. And I can do run program again. All right, which I think we called keep going equals run program again. All right, now don't worry, we'll get rid of all these errors in just a minute. All right. All right. So if it's is valid data, well, like I said, we better write in is valid data, but first let's put this in. So write line, and let's put in ex.message plus, and we'll put in a couple blank lines plus ex dot get type dot toString plus, again, another blank line, plus ex dot stack trace, and we'll just call this exception. All right. There's that. So what doesn't it like with get type? It doesn't like the fact that we didn't put in parens here. Okay. So that one's fixed. Okay. This display output, we'll write that in just a minute. Okay. All right. So we're getting the error here because we don't have an is valid data. So let's write that one right now. And I'm showing you this. Why? Because not only do we want to write this one right now, not only that, all right, down here, but we want to be able to use our class. All right. So let's come down here and do our is valid data. All right. It's giving me the error because I'm not returning anything yet. So let's just get rid of that error. So we'll say bool success equal true. Just come down here and just say return success. Now all those errors should be gone from here. And you'll notice I have no more errors now. I have a warning, but that's fine. Just telling me I've got a value that I've declared that I'm not using. So string error message. This is right again, virtually. It's right out of Muroc. So now I'm going to put this in. I'm going to get an error. Well, we'll fix it right away. Validator dot is present. Num1 doesn't like any of that. If we put in here validator dot, okay, yeah, you can see the errors that it's giving me. You should understand, every one of you should understand why I'm getting that error right there. It doesn't recognize it. Why? Because I've got to go over to my project, right mouse click on here, choose add, choose reference, come down here and find the calculator library. There it is. Click OK. Once I do that, then I can come back up to the top here and I can put in a using statement using calculator library. And once I put that in, notice here that when I come down here and I say validator dot, rather than an error, it's showing me the different things that are in there for the validator. All right. Now, I don't like the fact that right now it looks like it's missing something. So let's look and we'll figure out what it is. But I'm going to put is present num1 str, and that's number 1. All right, we'll have to figure this out in just a second. So what are we doing here? Well, we have to do 3 validations. All right. What do I mean? Well, first thing we have to do is we have to validate the first number. All right. Then next, we have to come in and validate the second number. All right. Finally, we'll have to go in and validate the selection. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. But we're doing all of it now. I want to say this again. We're doing all of it now. And when we're doing it, we are doing it using the stuff that's in our class. All right, to figure out what the heck that problem is. So this is num1 string. This will make this num2 string, which means this is number 2, and so is this. And the other one is that selection string, SEL, STR, and this will just say selection. And that one will have to change as well. All right, so let's see. Well, one of them has got to be is present. This one has got to be is double. All right, so does this one. All right, and finally, this one here has to be is int 32. And guess what? Remember at the beginning, we put in these things so we can have an is within range. And I added it, so that was good. So this will be an is within range. All right. And I have to make some changes to it. These two are both okay, but we'll have to add in here min select and max select. All right. Let's see now what the problem here is. Okay, it's saying validator.isPresent is inaccessible due to its protection level. All right, I know what it is. I don't know if you know what it is or not, but let's go back to validator. Okay, and when we look in here, we've got private static string. These all must be public because we're sharing validator, which is in a library with something that's not in the library. So I have to make these public. So you'll notice that after I come in here, you're going to see these errors that are down here are going to be smaller and smaller with each one of these that we add. All right. And now that I look down here, come on, go away here. All right. Hopefully it will in just a second. So let's look. So file, save all. All right. Well, notice this says public static string. So does this one. So does this one. And what's missing from this one? Static. Now, they're public because they're being shared. They're static, not because they're dealing with main. Static in a class like this means that we are able to go in and use these without having to make an instance of the validator class. That's exactly what we're doing in here. All right. Now we can go back. If we go back into our program and notice all those errors are gone, well, that's a good start. But before we return success, we have to say if error message is not equal to nothing, that means what? We had an error. All right. So to see if we had an error, we want to then say success equal false. We will do just a write line of the error message. Remember, we don't have in here, we can't do a message box because we're still writing a console application right now. And we'll do another read line just to stop it on the screen. All right. Finally, we come in and we return success. All right. Now this input a number, I don't think we're using it in here anymore. All right. I think we got rid of that. Yeah, it's right here. So we don't need that. But let's see. So what do we have here? Is valid data. Good. Make a selection. Okay. We don't need make a selection anymore. All right. We can get rid of that. We're handling it in a different routine. Call correct function. Yep, we still need that, but we're not passing anything into it anymore because we took those variables and we made them class variables. So this has to change now, SEL, and this is cleaner now because when I did it the first time, I used strings. I don't like doing that, I just wanted to show you the difference between doing these. But since these are actually representing numbers, a 1 is add, a 2 is subtract, etc. This, I think at least, is much cleaner. Now, okay, you're still saying, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but now we've got to do something in here actually that is, I want to say this again. We have to do something in here right now that actually is object oriented. All right, we've got a thing in here called result. Okay, so I don't need this double result. I don't need that anymore. But this is the key thing here. What I want to do is I want to instantiate a new calculator object. All right, so I'm going to say, we called it standard calculator. And I'll just call it SC for standard calculator, equals new standard calculator. All right. Now, we've got in here result equals this, etc. Now, these are all going to change. This is going to change so that it says result equal SC dot, and notice what we have, add. And we'll pass in num1, and we'll pass, not the strings, pass in N1 and N2. Here, this will change to SC dot subtract. This one will now become SC dot multiply. The next one will be SC dot divide. And the last one will be SC dot modulo. Now, with what we've done in here, you might argue and say, you know, I get all that. I get everything you're saying, but, so we don't need these anymore. We don't need a calculate sum. We don't need a calculate difference. We don't need a calculate product. We don't need a calculate quotient or a calculate modulo. Why? Because we put those in the class. All right, which again is much cleaner. Now in here, I don't need any of these anymore, but I'm going to get errors. So this is N1, this is N2, and this is result. All right. Now, with what we've done, because I'm done with this program, but with what we've done, you could easily turn around and say, all you did was, you know, you did sleight of hand and you move this to here and you move this. Yes, but two things. First of all, I could have one person be writing the class and another person be writing the interface. That's oftentimes, if you've got a big enough programming shop, that's what'll happen. Plus, I'm going to create GUIs, 3 GUIs on this next, and I'm going to use the same standard calculator and validator with each one of those. All right, so let's see if it still works. It's not giving me any errors. That's always a good start. Don't think I need this diagnostic. I don't know why it throws that stuff in there, but it does. So file, save all, and let's go in and run this. All right, if we put in nothing, you must enter a number, try again, 56. We enter in nothing. All right, yeah, you must enter a number, try again. Okay, so 56, I don't know, 23. Add, oh, we're getting something wrong. I'm getting 0 plus 23 equals 23. That says that somewhere in here when I'm doing this, I am not filling in N1 correctly. All right, let's just look at the rest quickly. All right, I want to see if the rest look like they're going to work or not. So again, I shouldn't be hitting enter there. That's why it's breaking. Let's just go back and look at that. All right, so someplace in here, N1, that all looks good. N1, N1, N1. All right. Where am I reading in N1? N1, N2. Okay. This is what's wrong. Okay. These decimals here, no. I want to say N1 equals input a number. What am I got here? Hold on a second. I think I brought the wrong one up. So let me get rid of that. There we are. Okay. All right. So we've got N1, N2. Read in the first number, num1 string. Read in the second number, num2 string. That looks good. Enter a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That all looks good. N1 equals convert to double. Num1 string. There's my error. That should be num2 string right there. That's at least one of my errors. So let's see if that fixes it or doesn't fix it. All right, 17 plus, yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Now, if I hit enter like that, it's telling me my index is out of range. It's because I didn't put any value in there at all. All right, how do I change that? Okay, I can just come in here and say, if, again, I actually got to do it up here. If, again, is equal to nothing, I can set ret val equal to false. That should, and return. I'm going to just say return false. That should fix that, me hitting the enter key when I do that. So let's see if that does. See, it just stopped. All right, so that fixed that. All right. And if I try to divide by 0, that's the last thing I'm going to show you here. Or modulo by 0. So 56 and 0, and I do a 4. Well, attempt to divide by 0. What does that mean? Wow, that means I should put that same check in here that we had before. All right. So rather than just returning that, I should say if n2 equals 0, throw new divide by 0 exception, and I can put in there illegal attempt to divide by 0. All right. And then hit enter here. And really, to be good, I should do the same thing with a modulo. They're both division operators. All right, let's see if that fixed that problem. All right. Okay, it is giving us our error. Okay, so the program's breaking there. What do you do? That's up to you. All right. It's actually, the program is doing exactly what I told it to do. And in fact, if I come in here and run it again into a modulo, the same thing is going to happen. All right, but it's grabbing the one down here instead of the one there. That's something you'd have to figure out. All right, exactly what you want to do right there. But what I want to get across to you is what we have done in this program is we brought in a validator class. We use the isPresent. We use the isInt32. we use the is double. With a range, I didn't even show you that one, but what if we put in something that's not within range? All right, remember you're supposed to enter a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on which operation you want to do. So let's put in something, whoops, that was me. Put in something that's out of range in here. So, all right, and all it does is it just tells us to do it again. Okay. Okay. All right. So far we've come in here and we've written this twice. All right. And I did this because you know, or you should know, or should have realized by now that when you run these programs, your class files, those are all text. All right. And what I'm saying in there is those class files, all right, there's no GUI to them. So we're going to put a GUI on top of this right now. We're going to actually do this 3 times. The first time I do it, it's going to be real simple. I'm going to make a single calculate button that's going to handle all of the different mathematical operations. All right. And okay, let's just go through there. Let's just go through and do this. How's that? And hopefully you're going to see I'm going to be able to use a lot of the same code. How's that? Let's see. I'm going to get rid of that and that and that. So those are all closed. So let's go in and let's add a new project. This will be a Windows Forms app. All right. And I'm going to make this 3 times. So just so you know that. So this will be calculator GUI01. All right. I'm going to make this bigger. Well, like that. And I'm going to end up copying the interface when I make the other 2. So it'll look pretty much the same. And let's see, I'm going to make this, instead of 864 by 779, I'm going to make this 860 by 780. There. All right. And it's going to be a fairly simplistic interface. All right, especially to start. All right, now it's up to us. You know this already, but it's up to us when we come in here as far as how we set this up. And what I mean is this. For the first one that we do in here, we're going to change this around. But for the first one that we do, let's just come in and add 3 buttons at the bottom. This is what we've been doing pretty much most of the semester in here. All right, and those will be our calculate, our clear, and our exit buttons. Okay, then we're going to come in here and we're going to add a few labels. I think 4, but let's see, 1, 2, 3. I think it's 4. And I'm going to immediately change the color as I do. And set the auto size to false. All right. All right, the way I decided to do this for the first iteration, this is going to be the first number that we're going to be putting in. All right, this will be the first number. So let's go in and find a text box. All right. This will be the answer down here. This will be the second number that we're putting in. But for the first iteration of this, let's make this a drop-down list. All right, so I'm going to make it a combo box. And I'm going to make it very, very small because it's only going to have in it a plus sign, a minus sign, a multiply sign, etc. All right. Let's get these all out of the way first. So. All right. So there's our interface. Let's just lock this thing into place. You know what? I'm going to move this over a little bit. I like stuff a little bit. I like that better. All right, should be locked into place now. All right, and I'm going to call it basically what it is. So this will be LBL operand 1, and it'll say operand 1. This will be TXT operand 1. This will be LBL operator. Now I could go in and put this in programmatically, but since it's just those 4 things, I'm going to go down to items here, or 5 things, and I'm going to open up the collection manually, and I'm going to put in a plus sign, a minus sign, a multiply sign, a divide sign, and a modulo. So I put those things in themselves. Okay. All right. And this should say operator. All right. This basically is a drop-down list. So I'm going to call it DDL for drop-down list. So I'm going to call this DDL operator. All right. This will be operand 2. There's operand 1. This will be operand 2. Oops. This will be TXT operand 2. And this I'll just call result. So this will be LBL result. It'll say result. This will be TXT result. All right, and this will be BTN calculate. This will be BTN clear. And finally, this will be BTN exit. Okay, now I am going to do a file save all because even though I've added everything, I should be able to change the name of my form. So I'm going to rename this to FRM calculator GUI 01. Good. All right, let's make sure that everything has now been renamed. Far as I can tell, it all has. That's good. All right. And let's set our accept and cancel buttons. Some of you are still not doing that on tests and you're losing points. I don't get why, but you got to do what you got to do, I guess. Set this to location to be clear to the center screen. And let's set our tab order to be 0, 1, 2. This is going to be read only. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So view tab order. Again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to make this one read only. Do another view tab order. Now make that one read only. I'm going to make it the same color as this kind of ugly color here. All right. And I should be able to run it. Of course, it's not at all operational, but that's okay. Let's set our startup project. Okay, those are in there. Okay, that's a good start. All right, this will be our calculate in just a moment. And we will have our clear, which will clear the form in just a moment. And also our exit. All right, again, as always, I'm going to grab these. So I already have them in here, so. And I'll put a show error message. Not sure if I'm going to use that or not. Better to have it though, so. And again, for the clear, it's going to be clear form. All right, and again, what do we want to do? Clear. We can set that to anything we want, including 0, clear, and clear. All right. I can set it equal to 0, which means it'll be set to plus. All right, that's fine. I'll just leave it there. That sounds good to me. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll make sure that it's set when the program starts as well. I'll do that in just a second. I didn't do that on mine. So all I'm going to do here is just come in and in my form load event, I'm not even going to write a routine. I'm just going to set that to 0. All right, so let's see what it looks like now. Set to plus. Clear works. Double check. Yep, reset. And exit works. Okay, so all of that stuff is done. And ideally, at least, what you're going to realize is how similar this is going to be to what we just did. All right, I'm going to see if I can get this done and get it done in about 5 to 10 minutes. And then we're going to take our next break. All right. So again, we want to do our stuff in the calculate routine, as you'd guess. All right. So So that's going to be the one that I selected. All right. And I don't know why. In fact, I don't think I need to make it a string. Well, we're going to validate it, I guess. So we will leave it like that. All right. And then just like we did previously, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to I'm going to put a try catch in here. I actually could put almost the same try catch that I put in before. All right. Let's see. I did create a couple global variables up here. He's got to be moved down, but I'll do that in a minute. So giving me these errors right now, and it's giving me these errors because of where I've created these. This has got to be moved down. It's got to be after that curly brace. Okay. Fixes all that. All right. So, like I said, very similar to what we did before. Let's come in here and let's do a try catch. And when we do that, we're going to have another is valid data. So now I can come in here and I can put in my show error message. No comma. All right, so there's my catch. Okay. Now we do want to put another if is valid data in here. Which again, we're getting just like before, we're getting our errors. So if that's the case, then num1 equals convert to double operand 1, num2, and our op is going to be equal to ddl dot selected index. Okay, that went off pretty well with no problem. Okay, and we're going to have, we also want to come in here and call our call correct function. Now, for now, I'm going to comment that out. All right, because we haven't written it yet. Let's write the is valid data right now. Very, very similar to what we did before. All right. I'm going to steal this from up here. Probably could have even put that into a routine, but I didn't. Okay, so we've got all that. Okay, again, you've seen all this stuff before. All right, so again, whoops. And I'm going to get the same thing I had before. Okay, now why am I getting that? The same reason I got it before. And that is I must go into here, my new project, right mouse click, choose add. All right, choose reference and make sure I've chosen the calculator library. Click OK. Now, if I come down here and get rid of all these I don't need, I don't know why I need that diagnostic context, but it looks like I do. But I should be able to come in there now and say using calculator library. There it is. All right. And again, as I come in here, I can now say, should be able to, validator dot, and there's is present. All right. All right. And we want to do, again, with this, we want to do an is present, and we also want an is double. And we want to do the same thing for the second text box. And we got a siren going by. I don't think I've ever heard one since I've been here. So this is operand 2. And it looks like I didn't close that. So, okay, so those are both done. Plus, we need to validate our selection. So I'll say here, selection, drop down. All right. Now, we shouldn't really technically have to even do an is present, but better safe than sorry. I don't even know if I need either one of these. I could probably remove them to try to find out. So. And just like before, come down to here. Right. And return success. All right. So that's everything that's in there. So all that's left, and we'll do this quickly, is that call correct function that I commented out. Put that right here. All right. Did I have a result already? I don't think I did. Okay, I could have put result up there, or I can make it local down here. It doesn't really matter in the end. Now I'm, again, so I'm going to instantiate a standard calculator object right there. All right. And now I should be able to switch on my operation. Now there's two ways I can do this. I did op. All right. And what op is it's a 0 for plus, it's a 1 for subtract, etc. We could have actually done it on the value that was in there too. And we could have checked for a plus sign or a minus sign or whatever. This is just how I did it. All right, so. And let's come in there again and just copy these down so you don't have to watch me type. Oh, 0, 1, 2, 3. I missed one. Okay, that's fine. So let's bring this down again. Or did I? 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, there shouldn't be a 5 in here. That's the problem. So that's a 4. Remember, we're counting at 0, starting with 0. It should be a 3. It should be a 2. That should be, let's get rid of this one. There's a 1. So add, subtract, multiply, divide, modulo. All right. And once I'm done with all of that, I'm hoping this is going to be correct. So I'm going to say txt result dot text equals result dot toString. Let's put it into an interpolated string. All right. And let's see if we're done. I think I've already set this to my start project, but let's do it anyway. All right, so let's see if it works. 56 plus 17 should be 73. And it is. 56 minus 17 should be, I think it's 39. It is. 56 times 17. If I did it right in my head, it's like 952 or something like that. 56 divided by 17 should be 3 point something. And 56 modulo 17 should be 5. Everything works. If I try to divide by 0 or modulo by 0, what happens? I get that. Cannot divide by 0 plus all the other information, but the program stays running. Okay, so we have now written this 3 ways. We wrote it the first time, and we had nothing in there as far as classes go. We wrote it again, and we added a validator class, and we added the standard calculator class, but we did it as a console app. Now we're doing it as a GUI app. When we come back, I just want you to see this. I'm going to take this operator and I'm going to replace this with 5 buttons. And they're all going to be little buttons. So with a plus sign, a minus sign, a multiply, etc. And I'm going to get rid of the calculate. I'll do that during the break. All right. And then we'll come back and write that one. Then when we get done with that, we are going to write one more where I'm going to add another class that will inherit the standard calculator, and this will be a scientific calculator class where we'll allow the user to do a square root, to do an exponent, to do a natural logarithm, and to do a logarithm. All right, it is 10:30. Let's come back, please, at 10:40. Thank you. All right, I'm just finishing this up. Um, all right, let's see. What I did was I just copied over the old one, which is the one that we did before the break here. And I made calculator GUI 2. Let's make that the startup project. And I want you to see what I changed on here. All right. Now, instead of having one calculate button, we have separate buttons for addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulo. All right. And again, as always, there are plenty of ways to do this. All right. And all I did was I just put in the code for the clear and the exit buttons. So that should clear, that should clear, that should clear, and we should get the focus right there. So let's see if that all works. And it looks like it does. And the exit looks like it works as well. All right. So why did I even do this? Not to waste anybody's time. All right. But again, what I decided to do in here was to just set it up a little bit differently. All right. And they're all going to basically be the same. And what I mean is what I do in each one of these is basically going to be the same. So here's the one for the ad. So let's look at this. And I'm just going to put in here, I don't know, do the ad. I don't know. In fact, before I do anything, okay, there are going to be a couple changes in this one, and I want you to see those. So let me write this. I just call this validate data. Of course, I get an error because that one, I didn't copy that over, and it's not going to be exactly the same. All right, I'm going to put it right up above my clear button here. All right, so we'll put it right here. So this is, again, going to be the validate data. It's going to be very similar to what we did before. All right, but it's a little bit different. And all I can say is, I guess, for lack of better words, just please watch. All right, again, I put it into a try catch block. And by now, you should have all be familiar with the fact that this is the way a lot of code is going to end up being written. Okay, you'll notice in there I'm returning false. All right. All right, it's giving me an error because I didn't make those variables up here. So let's do that. All right. And those are the only two variables that I made global. I tried to cut down the numbers. So class variables. Okay, so I've got those now. I don't need any more, so. All right, so we've got that validate data in here. All right, we're not returning anything yet, and that's probably, let's see. Probably I'm missing it in one spot, so we're going to put that in right now so that error will hopefully go away. Do this. If we still got their return true. Okay, so that fixed that error, but we haven't written yet is valid data. So let's write that one right now. We'll write that right down below this one. And probably, again, probably I could just copy it from what we had earlier. All right, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to key it in. Start with those. And just like before, now there's only two text boxes to validate. The first one, the second one, we don't have the drop down anymore. So. And let's see if we can do this one first. So I'm going to bring this in here. I'm going to come up to my project, right mouse click on it, choose add, choose reference, choose calculator library, click OK, then come up to the top here, get rid of all this garbage we don't need. See if we can put our using calculator library in there. There it is. All right. So now when we come down to here and we have this plus equal here, we should be able to say validator dot is present, and that's good. Okay, so operand one. So we want to again run an is present on there and an is double. All right. We also want to do the same thing with the second text box. Okay. And just like we had done before, if success is not equal to nothing, meaning we had an error, we want to come in. If success is not equal, it's not success, it's error message. That means, of course, we had an error. So success is going to be set equal to false. We can do our show error message. Right? And finally, we want to return success. All right, that should have fixed most of the errors that we had. It looks like it fixed all of them. But this is where it's a little bit different because we want to do something for each one of these buttons. All right, every time I want to call this, Okay, every time I want to do this, and every time I also want to come in and create a new calculator object. All right, so I'm going to come in here and do this. I'm just going to say double result equals, 0 or 0.0, whatever you want. All right. And then like I said, I did all of these the same way. In fact, yeah, that's fine. So I said, if keep going, create the new calculator. So instantiate new standard calculator object. Okay. Result. Now I'm actually putting this after each one of them. This line right here. I don't know if I could have made this, taken all this and just put it into one routine and called it generically. You can try that if you want to. All right. So now I want to call here subtract. And then in here, I want to call multiply. Next one would be divide. And finally, modulo. I believe I've got everything done. We'll see in a minute. All right, again, with nothing in there, nothing is happening. Well, that's clear. So, yep, our validator looks like it's working. We put something non-numeric in here, it should go down to 3 errors. If I put something non-numeric in here, it should go down to 2 errors. That's all working. We didn't put any maximum or minimum, so we're not using those. All right. 72, and let's just use 11. Adding them, I'm going to make that white quickly because that's very hard to read. All right. $72 plus, well, we're not doing that. Just going to call each other. Plus 11 minus 11 times 11 divided by 11 modulo 11. Looks like everything is working. If I try to divide by 0, I'm throwing my divide by 0 exception. Again, if we did want to do this, we could put that into a try catch. Just so you know, I could this whole thing could be put into a try catch. So what might be cleaner, what I'm saying is would be to do this. All right. Now we're inside of the class right here. All right, our calculator library. So any change I make is going to be for all of these. So I want to validate. So I could come in here and say, try, and then just come in and do the actual, I can say here, double result equal A divided by B. But again, that could fail. All right. And then it's going to fail if I attempt to do it by 0. So I'd have to come in here and do my catch. a divide by zero exception. All right, and then instead of throwing this, all right, I could just come in here and just give a message. All right. I don't know if that's going to be cleaner or not to do it like that. So I'm just going to go back and leave it the way that it was. But I'm just saying as a developer, there's a lot of different ways that this could conceivably be done, is what I'm getting to. All right. So file, save all. And that is the 4th of 5. So let's finish this last one. All right. The first thing that I'm going to do as we finish up this last one is I'm going to go in and I'm going to add another class. We're going to make this a scientific calculator. All right. Now, granted, we'd have to do a lot of work and you'd have to be programming buttons, etc., to actually make this work and look like a real calculator. All right. So, but let's come in here to our calculator library, which currently has standard calculator and validator. All right, I'm going to come in here, right mouse click, add a class, and I'm going to add class scientific calculator. There it is. This immediately is going to inherit from the standard calculator. All right, you notice it doesn't like that, but I believe if I make this public, it'll be just fine with it. Yep, there it is. Okay, so we're going to put 4 different things in here. We're going to allow for a square root, for an exponentiation, for a logarithm with base 10, and for a natural log. To be honest with you, what I did was I went up and I looked at what things are available in a in a scientific calculator, and I just picked those 4 out. All right. So first will be public double square root, and this is only going to require 1 number be passed in. All right. And I want to check here, so validate number is positive. You can't do a negative square root. So if the number is less than 0, all I did was I threw a new argument out of range exception. Not an argument exception, I called it an argument out of range exception. And I put in my own message, and I'll put it on the next line so you can read it, that just says number must be non-negative for square root. Again, you could put any message, of course, in there that you wanted. All right. So if I get down to here, I want to return. And this, I'm using what's built into C#, which is the math library .sqrt of num. And it is expecting that that is a double, which is the main reason that I made all those. I moved them all over from decimal to double. Okay. All right. That's the first one. Then I'm going to do another one. In fact, let's put a little comment in front of each one of these. So square root method. So the next one will be our exponentiation method. All right. And it'll be in some ways, I'm not worried about it. I don't know if you can put things to a negative power. I think you can. I didn't even check that. But public double, this needs 2 numbers. So I called it exponent double num and double exponent. All right. I don't have to check for it being less than 0, I don't think. So I just return math.pow with the num and with the exponent. Of course, you have to spell return, right, Jeff? So there's my second one. Then I did the two log functions. So this is method for, oh, I'll just do it like the other ones. So I'll call this logarithm base 10 method. This again only needs one number. And again, it can't be, it must be less than or equal to 0. So I'm just going to steal all of this code here. Paste that in. Now I don't want to call math.square root. I want to call math dot, I think it's math.l log 10. All right. And then finally, the last one, which again is very similar to this one. Move that over. All right. I'm going to grab all of this. And this will be my natural logarithm method. So this will be called ln, checking the same thing, and this will just be math.log. Oops. All right. So the big change in this one is we came in here, we added a new class. That new class was a child class of the one we've been using for the last really just every program except the first one that we wrote. And we added to this the ability to do a square root, the ability to do exponentiation, the ability to do a logarithm base 10, and an ability to do a logarithm that's not base 10, natural log. All right. So file, save all. All right. And I need a calculator 3 in here. I don't think I'm going to need this open anymore. I don't think I'm going to need that open anymore. I am going to copy all of this in just a second. Okay. So let's bring up and let's create a calculator GUI 03. All right. I don't think that I'm going to make it turquoise. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to copy everything in from here. Change the coloring. Make that text black again instead of, because right now it's pretty god awful. All right. So we've got all that everything should have passed, should have went over. I do have to reset the name of my form. All right, and I want to set my accept button. Just make it add. You could leave it or else set whatever you like, of course. Cancel button, I'll make clear. Default location will be center screen. The text on here will be, I don't know what I put for the last one. Calculator GUI02, so we'll make this. Calculator GUI03. Okay, so that's done. Let's set our tab order. And now that I do that, I'm going to come back to this one. And right now I go from here to do the buttons. I'm going to change the tab order of this. So view tab order, I'm going to make it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, I like that better. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, again, I'm going to bring up all these buttons. All right, and I'm going to change my interface just a little bit here. I want you to see what I'm doing, so let me highlight these. I'm going to move this up, and I'm going to move this up. All right, now I'm going to copy this, put it down here. You might say, well, what are you doing? Well, you'll see in a moment if you would. Down a little, move that down a little, and that down a little. All right, I'm going to change this from, it says operator right now. I'm going to change this to LBL standard operator. And hopefully I'll have enough room here with the text, otherwise I'll make it a little wider. There you go. And this one will say scientific operator. That one probably will be, it won't be wide enough. Oh, it is good. Can I still put in the colon? Nope. There. All right. Now I want to change these. Okay. And there's only going to be 4 of them, so I'll get rid of the one. Try to. All right. And again, these will be square root. So I did make these a little bit wider. Not that wide. I knew that would happen, so get that. Let's just do them one at a time. So this will be the square root. And I just had it say SQRT. Let's be wider, it looks like. Okay. Now we move these over. So that is, I'm going to make all of these that same size. This will be the exponent. So I made that BTN exponent. and just put EXP there. All right. The next one is our log. And finally, the last one will be, I don't know, it was natural log or whatever the heck it was. Let me make these, spread these out just a little bit more. And change the size, there we go. Not terrible, but that'll work for an interface, okay? All right. And basically, what I'm going to do, I think at least, these aren't changing. I mean, that one is, oh, it's there before. I don't know why that copied, but it did. I'm not going to complain. All right. So all I want to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to add the other 4 down here. But it's a little bit different. And let me explain this as I go through it right now. All right. So I'm going to have the button for the square root. Bet you what I did was I've been working on the wrong one, but that's okay. Well, I'll get it all fixed before you guys see it. So. So there those 4 are. And again, even though it wasn't probably the greatest of practices, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this is screwed up. Should be this one. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So I'm going to take, I've got all those. Oh, this is just totally screwed up now, but we'll have to fix it. All right. I'm going to just grab the ones that I had before. Like I said, this will take a second to clean this up, but I will clean it up. All right. All right. Believe it or not, we're almost finished. Okay. So a couple things about this. First thing is when I do the square root, I only need one number. Okay. When I do the square root, I only need one number. So what I did was I came up here and I just said txt operand 2.text equals 0.toString. I just put a 0 in there. And I did that so that when I called my validate here, otherwise, if there was nothing in there, right, I could just, I could put anything in there I wanted. I'm not using it anyway. All right, I've got the result here. So now what I want to do for the first time here is, rather than creating a scientific or a standard calculator, I want to create a scientific calculator. All right. And I'll just call it SCC. All right. And now I can say SCC dot, and notice when I do this, all right, it's got log in there. It's also got the other ones. So I can treat it as though it's a parent. I don't want to do that. I want to put in here SQ square root. All right, and I have to pass in a number. Okay, and then the result period, just like that. So that one's done. Now the next one is the exponent. All right, and look at what I did here. Oh my goodness, all this stupid. Boy, I can be an idiot. All right, I'm going to fix these right now. Add is fine. Subtract is okay. Well, I'm going to, now let's just do this. I'm going to bring this one up, and I want to show you that it works. Of course, that's GUI 2. All right. I want to make GUI 2 now GUI 3 and GUI 3 now GUI 2, but I'll have to do that outside of class. All right. So now I've got the square root in here. Good. These are just all screwed up, but I'll fix them right now. So this will be the exponent in just a second. It needs two numbers. So they will be num1 and num2. Okay. This next one will be the log. So again, it only needs one number. So just like before, I'm going to say txt operand 2 dot text equals the number 0 dot toString, just so there's something in there. And now I can come in here and say log. Okay. And finally, with this last one, the same kind of thing. In fact, let's just grab all of this. And it's going to call ln. All right. Now I'm going to have to go back and fix the add, subtract, etc. But the scientific ones now hopefully will work. All right. So file, save all. Let's try this and see if it does. Should be the purple one. All right. So let's say 12. And let's see if we 12 the square root of 12. 3.46. Sounds to me like it would be right, but let's look in here. So let's look on a quote real calculator. So 12, 3.464, etc. So that one worked. All right, for the exponent, let's take 12 and square it, which should be 144. And that is, all right. The other two, I don't know. I don't ever do log stuff, but I'm going to find it out anyway. So let's find it out. And I'll put in here log of 100, log of 144. Looks like it's 2.158, etc. Should be 2.16 because I'm putting this to 2 decimal places. Now it's 1.08. 12. I think that what I did was I didn't do base 10, so it was half of that. All right, and the last one for LN. Oh, that should have been of 12. That's why. There we go. So that is 1.08. So that did work. And then finally the LN of 12, which is 2.48. It should end up being. And it is. So everything works. So what I've been able to demonstrate to you, not without making mistakes, but what I've been able to demonstrate to you is how to create a simple calculator program as a console program with no classes. Then we went back and we added a validator class and a simple or a standard calculator class. Then we went in and created GUI versions. The first GUI version had 3 buttons, a calculate button, which handled everything, a clear button, and an exit button. Then for the last 2 iterations, we first went in and we added 5 buttons, one for each of the standard operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and the one we added of modulo. Then in this last one, we added another class, which was a scientific calculator class, which allowed us to do square roots, exponentiation, logs, etc. Now we're still going to have problems in here. If we go in and we got 12, let's put in here -7 and click square root. All right. Thought it was going to blow up, but let's see. It just doesn't do anything. All right. And that isn't good, to be honest with you. Can we put a negative number here? You can. Again, it's not blowing up. How about if we put in a negative number here? All right. I'll have to check on those and see why those aren't really working the way I'd like them to work. All right. So that is it for today. For tomorrow, then. All right. For tomorrow. As it says, tomorrow, Tuesday, we will go over 2 of the homework problems in class. All right. And I'm going to do the first 2. So I'm going to do the registered letter and I'm going to do the photo one. Okay. That I don't think is going to take as long as the lecture today did. We'll see. Okay. Then Wednesday, I'm going to do the chapter 12 test. Okay. And you can redo it. If you want to pick up half the points you lost, or if you didn't do it at all, you can do it and get up to a 50. Thursday, I will go over then, because it's different than what's on the screen here. Thursday, I will go over the pretest for chapters 14 and 16. Friday, you will take the pretest. Okay, I'm looking. Yeah, it looks like at least a couple of you stuck around. So thank you for sticking around. Sorry for the errors, but hey, that's what makes me human. All right, so I will talk to you tomorrow at 8:05. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks.